What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast.
If you want to be successful, look inside.
We don't like sitting in the discomfort.
Then all of a sudden that day came when I got $20 and 2 free drinks to do a show, and I was like, oh shit, here we go, baby. You know?
Thank God she hasn't caught a chicken yet, because she'll tear his head off.
Don't be soft.
That patience is key.
If all my friends are winning, then it's going to make me want to win more.
Woo! What is up, guys? You know, we are always excited to do some of these solo pods when we come together and jam it out, talk, learn, explore, and have fun.
Oh, yeah, man. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Always. Always. I don't know. It's just, obviously, don't get me wrong. When we get these amazing guests on, it's an experience and such a huge learning lesson. But there's always something special about these solo pods when we just do them on their own. I don't know. You tell me, right?
I mean, you know, it's us on here, man. We got to show more of ourselves, I think, too. You know, people want to hear it. People want to see us. You know, they want to see the true us. So now they get to.
I agree, dude. And I think, you know, you had brought something up, like, you know, before we jumped in here, like, what do we want to bring as value today? And I think one of the things you mentioned was goal setting, right? You know, making sure we can show people and give people the tools to be able to set the right goals in place and obtain those goals, most importantly. So, dude, if you want to dive in, let's go.
Well, you know, 100%, man. I think, you know, before you can get anywhere, you have to know where you want to go in the first place, right? Like, where is that point B, right? You're at point A right now. Where do you really want to go? And I think it all starts with being honest with yourself, like, you know, what's important to you? You know, I mean, we talk to a lot of our guests. We talk to ourselves, you know, we talk with each other. And we're always constantly thinking, like, okay, where, you know, especially with the podcast, right? Like, where do we want to go with the podcast, right? Where do we want to go with our own businesses, with our personal lives, right? And unless you're willing to be open and honest about, you know, I want to have, you know, we always talk about, like, having a nice car, right? Like, okay, I want to have a nice car. Like, okay, well, great. Well, what is that nice car actually going to do for you, right? If it provides you the value that you want in life, then go out there and get that nice car, you know? But for me, I don't give a shit about nice cars, right? Like, I don't, the people I work with, they don't care if I have a nice car. Like, that's not something that will show them that I can give them the things that they want in life, right? So for me, it's not really that important. You know, obviously you're more on the business end of things. So for you, that might be something that you might want to think about, right? But understand, like, okay, once you have that point B, right? Okay, I know I want this, all right? And you have real value behind the want, right? That's what's going to lead you to finding out or figuring out a path from there, right? But if you set a plan, or not plan B, but if you set a point B, right, this destination that you want to get to, and that value is not there, well, then the motivation to continue to do the hard shit that really matters in life, right, that's not going to be able to follow through, you know? Yeah. If I always talk with my clients, right, about, like, okay, so you want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, but why do you want to lose 20 pounds? What is the real reason behind that 20? What is the value of losing that 20 pounds going to bring to your life that makes it so worth accomplishing?
For sure. And it's also to, like, it's like, what do I need to do? Why do I need to do it? And how am I going to do it? Right? So, like, if somebody who wants to lose 20 pounds, well, what do I need to do? Well, I need to seek proper help, because if I don't know how to do it myself, I need to seek that proper help. Well, why do you want to do it? Well, it can stem from many reasons. You know, maybe you're dealing with some underlying, you know, issues that you need to take care of, because if not, you will pass away one day. Or maybe it could be because you want to get ready for your wedding, or you want to prepare yourself. And then, of course, how am I going to do it? Well, it's going to go based off the plan that my coach is going to place for me. And then, of course, the actions that I need to continue to take throughout the day that my coach laid out, and being consistent with that, right? So understanding that what, why, and how is going to be very, very important when it comes to that goal setting in the first place.
No, 100%. And when you can really establish those things, like, it brings so much more perspective to you about what you actually need to be doing to make that, you know, destination a reality in your life.
Yeah, totally. And I think the other thing too, it's like, don't be scared. Don't be scared to set a goal, because you might feel that goal is something that you might not be able to achieve, right? And if that is the case where you feel that, oh man, like my goal is a big goal, then create micro goals, right? Before you hit that big goal, right? If you feel that big goal is so huge, set that huge goal, but then create mini goals to help you get to that goal, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because those little mini goals that you attack and you achieve will eventually help you get to that huge goal. Right, because I know at the same time, yes, when you set that big goal and then you're not getting there and you're drowning yourself and you're like, shit, like I'm not even close, then you fall backwards. But if you can set up those mini goals and get those mini wins, it can keep you excited. It can keep you feeling, okay, there's possibility, like I'm moving the wheel, like I'm actually doing something, like this is working, right? So setting those mini goals in place help you to get that to that overall picture, big goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And setting alongside of goal setting, right, comes goal expectations, right? Like, or daily expectations. Like, what are you expecting yourself to be able to get to that destination, right? To be able to accomplish that goal. And if you can't follow through with the expectation you set, well, you're going to let yourself down a lot of the time, right? And you're going to fall back into that negative feedback loop of like, oh, I'm not worthy enough. I'm not capable of these things. Like, I can't get to that point, right? I'll never be able to get to that point. And all those things are going to lead you to defeat more than they'll ever lead you 100%. To wins, right? So once you set that goal, right, and you have that defined and you understand the value of accomplishing that goal and those align with where you want to go in life, then you have to set the expectations of what do I need to actually do in order to make that goal a reality.
100%. And that's the big one too, because I think a lot of times we set a goal, but this is the problem. We have this goal, we want this, but we're only willing to do this, right? It doesn't match, right? So you need to either be real and say, well, maybe I don't really want this goal because I'm only willing to do this much work, right? So then maybe you might have to pivot and think of something else, right? It might not be for you. But if this is your goal and you know that this is your goal, then you need to understand that it's going to take this level of work and sacrifice to be able to hit that goal. And you need to match it. Because if you don't match that energy with the goal, then it's not going to work, right? And it goes as simple as you want to lose this much weight, but you don't want to stop eating hamburgers and fries, and you're not willing to give that up. Then you really don't want to lose that much weight, right? So it goes as, that's a simple way to put it. But you got to understand that your energy, what you want, what you're going to put in has to match the goal.
100%. And I mean, we hear this all the time, right? It's like, oh, well, I feel like there's a better way to be doing things. Like, for example, people come to me all the time and they're like, oh, well, how do you make sales online? How do you run an online coaching business? And I'm like, well, I follow a lot of the steps that you've been able to give me, right? And I'll lay out what a lot of that is, right? I'm open and honest with them. I'm not giving them your program secrets or anything, but I'm telling them like, okay, these are the daily things that, Mendes has me doing so that I can continue to see the type of progress I want to see in my business. Oh man, there's got to be a better way, Josh. Like I'm like, okay, maybe there's a better way, but I'm giving you a fucking proven plan that myself and a lot of other coaches have been able to use in order to get there, right? Like, outreach to find new leads. Like, oh, well, that's going to take a lot of time. And, there's got to be a faster way. There's got to be an easier way. Like, well, if there is, I don't fucking know about it, but I'm telling you, this works. All you have to do is put your effort into it.
And I'll give you stuff, guys. Like, dude, like, you're talking about like, I'm not here giving away, but dude, you come over here. I have a free Facebook page where I give you tons of information that you alone can grab from that and start making money from. Go look at my content. Go look at my YouTube videos. There's so much in there that I give already that is part of my course, or a lot of it is from my course, that you can start doing some damage with. So I have no problem giving stuff, but the problem is, like, I've said in one of our last podcasts, is that most of you will not do it. Just that's given to you already for free. You won't do it. You won't do it. 1% of you might do it, but most of you will not do it. And that's the biggest problem, right? And it goes back to like not believing yourself, being scared, doubting yourself, worried that, others might treat you differently. So you got to get that out of your head, right? You got to get that out of your head. If not, you're not going to achieve those goals. And then from there, it's like, what do I start with? Well, start with what information you have and work off that. And then you can start building yourself up through that process to get to that goal. And then, of course, as you're building up, you can then escalate yourself and get bigger help and invest in bigger things because you're making money now.
No, 100%. And, you know, again, it all comes back to how does everything align in your life, right? Like, are you willing to take that next step, right? Or are you setting that expectation too high, right? Do you truly believe that you're ready to go into this new business venture, or that you're ready to, you know, add on to what you're currently doing? Or do you need to continue just doing what you're doing and refine that, right? Because that might align more with like what your actions are actually going to be in order to make these things a reality for yourself.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong to take a step back and say, is this really my goal? Am I really ready for this? Like, there's nothing wrong with that, but do it, because you don't want to jump into something that you really don't feel in tuned with. You don't want to jump into something where you're going to waste more time because you might have been told that that's what you have to do, or because that's what I thought I was supposed to do, or I thought that was supposed to be my goal, right? It's about what is truly my goal. Right. So really, when you're doing goal setting too, I think you have to, and setting those expectations, you have to really be aware of who you are and like what it is that you really want to do. Right. What is that true goal for yourself? Not just throw something out there because you're like, I have to put a goal. Right. I think a lot of people do that too. Like, I've done it myself. We've done it ourselves. Like, oh, we have to put our goal. We have to put a goal because we need to put a goal there, because if not, we cannot work towards something. Don't just put a goal to put a goal. Put a goal that actually has meaning to it. Because then you're going to actually fight for it, right? If not, you're just sitting in limbo and wondering, why can I get shit done? Well, it's because you don't really want to hit that fucking goal. Like, it's not your goal. There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is not taking time to actually be aware of what really is your goal in the first place, and then properly taking those steps and going.
Right. And I mean, at least from my viewpoint, most of that stems from what we see other people doing, right? And we see, you know, other people succeeding or having the appearance of success, right, because of social media. And we're like, oh, I want that. And okay, but you don't know what they're doing day to day, right? You don't know where their actions really align and the things that they're making happen for themselves behind the scenes, right, in order to be able to portray the type of success that they've been having, right, or to actually achieve the type of success that they're having. And if you're not ready to put forth those daily actions, right, that are going to help you get to where those other people are to help you find the success that they've gotten, well, then you need to take a step back and you need to reassign or realign your goals to something that's a little more sustainable and achievable for you.
Totally. And another thing too, like, once you find that true goal and you go after it, like, go after it. Don't wait. Don't sit around. Don't think it has to be perfect. Like, go after it. Just start, move. And understand too that halfway through, your goal might change. It's happened, right? It doesn't mean it's going to drastically change, but certain things might change within your goal. There's nothing wrong with that. But go. Just go. Like, go. Right? Because if you don't go, you don't know. You don't know what could be, what could have been, what could have been done, what could have came out of this. So just go.
You know, and again, I can't reiterate this enough. Like, the actions that you're taking on a day-to-day basis will tell you whether or not these goals are something that you actually want to achieve, right? Because if you write down on a piece of paper, like, okay, I'm going to do these 3 things, and you don't do any of them, well, then you don't really give a shit about that goal.
No.
You know?
And that goes back to telling you, like, well, maybe this goal really isn't my goal. And that's where you have to sit back and be like, and analyze and ask yourself and be real with yourself. Because maybe it could be the ego thing, or it could be coming out of a place where that's what everybody else is shooting for. Then I got to shoot for that. So maybe that isn't really you should be shooting for.
Right.
So go back. If that's going on, if you're seeing that that's a repeating pattern where you're constantly doing that over and over again, where it's like, oh, I'm not accomplishing it. Well, then let me take a step back and actually think if this is my goal. Because maybe it's not. You know, maybe I'm just in this hamster wheel because everybody else is doing it, and I'm thinking, sitting here, that that's what I have to achieve, when in reality it's something else.
Yep.
And then you actually start saying, like, damn, I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to do, because I know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, it's so true. So true. And, you know, once you have all that aligned, it then becomes like, okay, what are those big rocks I can move, right? What are the actions that I'm going to accomplish that are going to help move the needle the most for that day, for that week, for that month, for that year, in order to get me closer to that end result that I'm looking for, right? And focus on those things first, right? Don't be, flipping through your phone. Don't be talking to your girlfriend or boyfriend or, whoever it may be. Don't be going for a walk because the sunset is nice if viewing the sunset isn't going to help you get to that destination.
Yeah. And another thing too, guys, like, remember, just because you're going to have rough moments, you're going to have times where you're going to fail, make mistakes, it's not going to be fun, you're going to have to do things you don't necessarily like. Don't think just because that happens that it doesn't mean that that's your goal either, okay? Because in anything that you do or want to accomplish that makes you happy, you have to do things that don't necessarily mean you want to do them. So even what's most happiest or most accomplishing for you, and that's the goal you want to hit, you're gonna have to do shit you don't necessarily like doing. It's how
more often than not.
More often than not. So learn to understand that and learn to accept that, because if you're not, then this is probably not the route for you, right?
There was there's a story I always like to give my clients, right? When we're talking about reestablishing what's important in your life and then figuring out what comes secondary, tertiary, and then lastly, right? And this professor walks into his classroom, and on the table, all the students are in the classroom, and on the table there is a mason jar, there is a pile of golf balls, a pile of rocks, some sand, and then a cup of coffee on the end there. And the students are looking, and they're like, oh, it's, it looks so great. Like, what are we doing here? And he's like, okay, well, I'm explaining to you, right? He's like, you have to think about these things as the aspects of your life. The golf balls are the big pillars, right? Your family, your personal health, right? Your business, whatever it may be, right, that you find most important. Then you move on to the rocks, and those are the things that come secondary, right? So that might be, taking a vacation. That might be, going out to eat. That might be, your business if your business comes second behind your family or, behind your health. And then you move on to the sand. Those are like the day-to-day things that really don't matter. Checking your emails, right? Whatever that may be. And then the cup of coffee is at the end there. So the professor goes on to say, like, okay, if I took these rocks and I poured these rocks in, or if I took the sand and I poured that in first, well, then I don't have time for the golf balls. I don't have time for those main pillars in my life that are really important to me. Right, I don't have any room in the jar in my life for those main pillars, those things that are most important to me, right? But if I start with the golf balls, okay, and then I move on to the rocks, the things that are secondary in my life but are still important, and I kind of rattle the jar around, those rocks will start to fall in place around the golf balls, around the big pillars of my life. And then if I pour in the sand after that, right, I start to realize that if I just rattle the jar a little bit, if I just move it around, that all of that will adjust around the golf balls and around the rocks. Okay? So the big lesson here is, like, do the things that are most important to you first, right? Focus on those things first. Once those things are taken care of, once those things are fulfilled, then you can move on to these secondary and tertiary things, right? And lastly, he had the cup of the coffee on the table, and the students looked at me and go, oh, well, you have this cup of coffee there, you haven't touched it. You haven't talked about it. Like, what's that for? He's like, well, because that's for you to understand that, I can take this cup of coffee and I can pour in last, and it'll fill the rest of the cracks. But there's always time. There's always room to go out and have an experience with someone you care about. There's always time to go have that coffee with a friend.
Totally.
Right?
Totally. And it goes, and it's also good to understand that within those things that are most important and fulfill you, there's goals in those things too, right? There's there's goals in those things, because if they're important for you, then you most likely have a goal. Hey, for me, let's say it could be like, my family goal is I want to show up for my daughter to be the best dad, father possible. So what I'm going to do every day, what I have to do, because that's important for me to show up for my little girl to be the best dad and father, right? That's a goal for my family, for my little one. She's my family. So that's a goal for that. Then I have my business goal. My business goal might be this is what I want to be able to achieve. That's my business. For my self goal, it might be this. For my health goal. So understand that you're going to have what's most important, those other goals set in place. And when you can also fulfill those goals, you're going to see some of your other goals, like your business and stuff like that, your brand, all those other things come into fruition because you're achieving those fulfilling goals that start with your health, your self-care, your family, and then it pours on to helping you achieve those business goals that you're trying to achieve, or those work goals that you're trying to achieve, or if you're a student, whatever goals you have as a student, right? So if you can focus on pouring yourself into those other things like Josh said, you'll start seeing a lot of light come out on the other side.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, just to really wrap things up, you know, finish off the episode strong, like, in order to do these things, you have to have healthy communication skills with yourself and the other people that are really important in your life that can help you accomplish these things, right? Like being honest, being open about, you know, again, where you want to go, the expectations that need to be set in order to get there, and then the daily actions you need to take to follow through with these things. You know, that's where you could actually start taking that step forward, right? But if you're lying to yourself, if you're lying to those around you, you're never going to be able to actually reach the type of level that you want to get to.
Totally. Guys, like, go out and communicate. Like, be communicators. Become better communicators. Practice communication with your family, with your friends, the people around you. Like, absorb that. You know, accept that. Because if you avoid communication, that's where problems won't get solved, right? Problems only get solved when you communicate, right? And listen, of course. And part of communication is listening. So within communication, make sure that you become a great listener as well, right? And when you can become a great listener in communication, you'll also learn how to be able to absorb things from a different lens and viewpoint, and actually sit there and be able to solve issues, solve problems, figure things out, achieve certain goals, because you're taking that time to actually retain information from whoever it is and be able to see, okay, that this is the best way to approach it then. Maybe I should have seen it like this. Maybe I should have done that. Or, you know, that's a great piece of advice. I need to start implementing that into my life. Or maybe, you know what, that's what's going to help me get to my goal faster, right? But if you can communicate and allow yourself to communicate with others, you're going to win on a whole nother level, especially in a world now where I feel like, yes, social media is a form of communication, but I think, like, for me, when I feel the communication, like, you have to actually, like, go talk to people, right? Get on a phone call, get on a Zoom, show face-to-face, or get in person and talk to people, right? Don't just get behind a screen and message. Like, actually talk to people, right? There's a whole different ballgame between messaging, communicating, versus us sitting here and having a conversation where I can see your body language, and I can hear your tonality, your energy, right? Know your personality. The whole dynamic of that conversation and communication is going to be completely different than I'm just sitting behind a screen messaging away, right? Because I'm not going to fully understand what we're communicating about to its fullest extent.
Love it. And, you know, once you can do those things in life, you open a whole new door, right, of possibilities. You know, when you can honestly tell yourself the truth, right, what needs to happen, when you can honestly and fully set goals and expectations in order to accomplish those goals, and then follow through with those things with your daily actions, you know, sky's the limit for you. Totally.
And look, guys, like, something super important, like, this all takes fucking practice. It all takes practice, right? We're not going to be born into being the best communicators or the best at this or the best at that. Like, you have to freaking put in the work. You have to be able to go out there and expose yourself and be okay with sounding shitty or sounding bad because you haven't done it enough, right? But the more you do it, right, whatever is hard will become easier if you put in the time and the reps, right? Even like an athlete, right? You spend time practicing something over and over again, it's going to become easy. It's going to become reactive. Same thing goes with communicating. Same thing goes with anything that you want to learn. If you put in those reps and you're willing to go through some of that hardship at the beginning and accept that, the failures and mistakes, the disappointment, you're going to be able to learn and then apply whatever you learn, so that way you can actually start making that easier, and then you can start mastering it. And then you're like, whoa, holy shit, like, I'm here. Like, I'm doing this. I'm achieving these goals now because I was willing to go through this process, right? And then learn to enjoy that process, right? Learn to enjoy that process. As much as that may sound easy for me to say, it's one of those things where you have to be able to sit in that process wheel or that process line and say, you know what? Yes, I'm going to make mistakes. Yes, I'm going to fail, but I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to love it. And it's easier said than done. But when you actually get to realize that it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing, you actually do get to enjoy the process, because in life, you hang out more in the process than you do celebrating the wins.
100%.
And that is why if you don't learn to enjoy the process, you will live miserable, because that's where we hang out the most in. So learn to enjoy those processes, and then you can celebrate those wins, because the moment you win, you start back on the same wheel again, back in the process.
I mean, hey, like we started the podcast with, I think we should finish it with, like, we're having fun here, man, you know, but that's because we enjoy the process. So if you guys are trying to make some real changes in your life, or you want to continue to succeed and excel at the level that you are succeeding at currently, you know, and keep growing and keep learning, you know, implement some of this stuff into your life. It's not going to hurt. You know, you're going to have some real tough conversations with yourself about what it is you truly want and how you're actually going to be able to get there. But putting in that hard work beforehand will help take a lot of the headache later on.
Totally. And just to wrap things up, be uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable. Don't be scared to be uncomfortable, because the uncomfortability is what's going to allow you to learn, grow, apply, and achieve greatness. So do something uncomfortable every day. And the more you can do uncomfortable things, the more you're going to realize it's not that bad. And the more you're going to realize, holy crap, there's a lot of good coming out of these uncomfortable things I'm doing, or these uncomfortable situations I'm putting myself in, right? And uncomfortability, I mean uncomfortable things that you know you probably should be doing but are not doing to help you get to the next level, right? Doesn't mean that you're going to go now put your hand on a stove, right? But what it means is, you know, I'm too scared to get on that phone call with this person and you know, let them know why my services can help them, right? Put yourself in that situation, and I guarantee you that you're going to start seeing it's not that fucking bad.
You heard it from the man himself. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. I never know which camera to point to, but get comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's right.
Until next time, guys, you
Much
heard
love.
it from the legends themselves.
Boom.
Peace.